Right, hello, so I'll be streaming for about an hour, hopefully. As you can see, the visor came for my Mark 6, but I've actually mounted it on the Mark 6A now, so, because I'd rather have it on the helmet that actually gives you ballistic protection rather than the one that, you know, would probably only give you protection from somebody hitting you or something. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I've got a, sort of 17-minute video coming out on this, where I show how you change it from one helmet to another and all that. But yeah, it's quite a cool thing, the visor for this. I've noticed, for whatever reason, the texture, because this one's got, like, a lot of Kevlar helmets have, like, that weird sand kind of texture. But the visor doesn't go up and down on this one as well as it does on the regular Mark 6, which is smooth. So hello to everybody. Don't forget to like the stream if you're watching, because that helps them get shared. So, yeah, as you can see, you can put the visor up and down. So that's quite cool that it's actually, you know, functional. Because how it works is I'll take it off, but then it'll probably be hard to get back on. Should I just do one side? You have these sort of keys that you turn, and that lets you sort of mount it and dismount it. So you essentially just put the visor over on these mounts, screw it, and then it's ready to go. What do you mean by that, Jacob? You can't get HUDs in real life, if that's what you mean, like a video game, unless you're on about something completely different. But yeah, this is the regular Mark 6. If I just get this over. And you'll see what I've done on this one is that was the one that originally had the visor mounts on. So I've taken them off of this one and put them on the Mark 6A. So I've actually got, you know, the helmet that offers ballistic protection with the visor on, not this one. Yeah, I think it was actually £6 or £7 actually in the end, like not five, but yeah, it's not bad. So yeah, like saying the Mark 6A is actually an alright helmet. The regular Mark 6 really isn't, unless you're just using it for a hard hat. But at least the Mark 6A, despite all the faults it may have, you know, still with that shape of a helmet, like the bowl shape, rather than, you know, having one that's actually cut to a proper shape, it at least lets you still put the visor mounts on it. The issue is, though, that if you've got a regular like this one, like a Mark 6A that hasn't got the visor mounts already installed on it, it will end up costing you, I think, like £15 for the mounts when I looked it up, plus like £7 or £8 for the visor. So in total, it's still like a 20-odd quid job just to upgrade them. All right, Pietro or Pietro, if your name's pronounced like that. So hello to Italy, if you're saying hello from Italy. I mean, the only thing I think you could have with like a heads-up display, Jacob, is the you know, like those weird Google glasses, which I'd never want to wear because I'd hate glasses that essentially record everything you do and like spy on people. But I suppose you could have a head-up display, and technically if they had like electronic glasses. But yeah, so this is just standard polycarbonate, like riot shields are. Oxfordshire, as I've said a few times. I don't think it's the world's coolest room. It's all right. But yeah, so I said the problem is it's still a Mark 6, so it's still got that weird thing of it never seems to sit properly on your head. And obviously the other issue of a Mark 6 helmet is if I was to be wearing bulky body armor, apparently, you know, you can't aim with the certain rifles with the body armor on. But yeah, what I was saying in the video about this, while I'm waiting for people to actually leave comments and questions, is that this would actually be quite good for a shit hit the fan kind of thing, because you can actually combine a riot visor with a Kevlar helmet. And I know there's other militaries that have done that before, but it's not very common to see the ones where you can actually just take the visor on and off. A lot of the times it seems to be helmets they've specially put the mounts in for, or ones where like the visor is permanently attached to the front. It's weird, Mike, because I announced this one both on Discord and on the community tab. Well, it depends what you need help with. If it's a question, we might be able to help you. But in general, it's best just to ask a question rather than saying, can I ask a question as a question? tell you what, while it's quiet in the stream, I'll take the helmet off and I'll show you how the visor goes on and off. Just properly, just because that way. So, if you look at that, it's connected there. So, what you do, turn both of these. Visor pops off. So, they're the mounts it attaches to. So, if you buy the mounts separately, they seem to be like 15 odd quid. Unfortunately, I was hoping they'd be cheaper than that, but as I said, I already had these because my Mark 6 came with this. So what I did in the video earlier was transferring it from the regular Mark 6 to the Mark 6A. Right, Peach? So how that works, if you look in there in the liner, see those two nuts there and there? How it works is there's a nut, a washer, and like the two-part screw thing in there. And that's what attaches those to the side. So if you look at like this one, normally it would look like that. There's normally like little plugs in there, but they're really annoying little plugs because they're like kind of just bits of plastic they've glued in or something. So you have to end up using, I had to use like a drill hole punch tool, center punch, I think they call them, to actually get them out properly. I was thinking I might have had to use the power drill in the end, but I did get them out using that. It was out at the Mark 6A, I had to get them. So then, yeah, what you do, put those on there, sort of tighten them up, and then that's the mount ready for the wall behind me. That would be the SLR. But it would totally depend if the prices of certain DX would change. Then, you know, that might be the case. And I'm almost putting it on backwards again. That's annoying. Because there was a bit in the video earlier I was struggling to put it on for ages, and then I realised I was doing it backwards. So, yeah, all you do now, I don't want to hit the keyboard by accident. What you would do is, like I was saying before, let's get both these bits on the right bit. Some people say for some reason these are like really difficult visors to fit, but I don't think so. They're a bit annoying, but they're better designs than I've seen some other helmets use. As I said, you can at least take them off and put them on. So when you've got it roughly in place, you twist that. There we go, that one's locked on. Now this one needs to lock on, so get that in position. Might just have to, there we go, that's that one. And then, yeah, the visor is working on the helmet again, because the actual bits are done up properly. I don't really know too much about the tanker helmets Britain used, but I think because they didn't offer ballistic protection, did they, the British tanker helmets? I think they were just more like hard hats. So I think if they had visors on them, they were probably just ones that, like the earlier ones, where they essentially just bolted a visor like this onto it, not using a unlocking locking system, but literally just permanently attaching it to the helmet. No, I don't really use the gas mask subreddit. Years ago, I used to post on there, but as I said, I'm not going to start e-drama bullshit. But like I said, I had quite a lot of arguments with people on there and just got pissed off with people, so I stopped using it. But apparently, it's improved quite a lot recently, where, you know, posts are actually on topic and about gas masks. But I never bothered looking on there again. No, there's no World War One gas masks behind me. I don't own any actual World War One gas masks. I have a replica of one World War One mask, and that's it. Didn't send notifications. That's annoying. It's weird though with YouTube. Sometimes I can do a community post and all that, and have less people on than if I just randomly stream and don't tell anybody I'm coming on. So when I stream tomorrow, I won't do a community post, and I'll see if more people come on. So yeah, now I'm just waiting for people to actually chat, because at the moment it's pretty quiet. Sometimes you have streams where you can't keep up with the people chatting, and then other times the Stucker Frosty. Right, so that's it, Mike. I'm assuming most of the people who have come on were the people who saw the community post. No, I don't have an M1 Garand. The deactivated guns I've got an M1 carbine, which you can't see because it's on that wall there, the L1A1 SLR, Lee Enfield, there's a PPSH and RPK down there. You can just about see the barrel of the PPSH sticking up. No, I'd be shit at making a bow, Peach, so no thanks. I was really bad at woodwork and all that when I was at school, so I wouldn't even attempt it. French riot armor, if you're looking at that. It's literally like shoulder and arm protection that's kind of like hard foam. I'm assuming Flame Master. That's because at the moment YouTube seems to be sharing my videos a bit more, even though they didn't send out a notification. So that's kind of good. But yeah, what I'll sometimes have happen for whatever reason, and I suppose it happens to other channels as well, is YouTube decides it's actually going to recommend your videos to people. And then other times it decides that it won't even send notifications to people who are actually subscribed to you and have ticked the bell. Yeah, but where am I going to find a peach stick that will be safe to draw back? Because this is the thing that would worry me. If I got a stick, you know, something like that, put a string on it, tried to pull it back and shoot an arrow, what if it just suddenly snaps? I really wish with the Mark 6s, though, there was a way of getting the, like, helmet to not do this. But as far as I'm aware, there's nothing with the liner that lets you do that. Because obviously, like, yeah, what I could do is tighten these straps a bit. And then that gets really uncomfortable on the chin, but it still doesn't really stop the helmet slipping all that much. I suppose that's all you'd have to really do is just use the chin strap and hope for the best. I was thinking more, Peach, just the idea of it shattering an arrow going into your hand like people have had with compound bows. An American Mickey Mouse gas mask, well, it's one of the rarest masks in the world, so I guess so for that reason, but I wouldn't be able to look after it properly. Because, as I've said before, it's the reason I don't get World War I masks, because if you don't preserve them and do all this and store them in a proper container, they'll just disintegrate. No, the only Modern Warfare game I actually really like is the original Modern Warfare. I like Call of Duty 2, Modern Warfare, probably World at War and Black Ops, and that's basically it. I think they were the kinds of the peak games in the series, and then all the ones after that went downhill. Did the doctors sort you out anything, Rich, for your like muscle pain or bone pain or whatever it was? Sorry, I can't actually remember what you said you had. Obviously, if you don't want to discuss it on here, that's fine, but there's something I've worked out with my medication I'm currently on, saying that a lot of nights recently, even when I've had nights where it's been totally quiet, I've been struggling to fall asleep before 3 a.m., even when I'm getting up early, like the next day. And I was wondering why that was. And I thought it's since I've started the Nefapam, because I think the Nefapam, although it's a painkiller, is technically a stimulant. And I think if you take them too close to bedtime, it will stop you sleeping. Because it essentially, you know, works like coffee or methamphetamine or something like that, with how it works on the body. Yeah, I'll be back from the panto rehearsal by 10:30, Mike, so I'll be on then. And that will also explain recently why I've not had much of an appetite, because if it's a stimulant, it will kill your appetite. But apparently the action of how it kills pain is sort of similar to things like methamphetamines and things like that, or amphetamines in general. Doesn't have to be meth. Because I know they did investigate Nefapam apparently at one point for attention deficit disorders. They just found it wasn't as efficient or cost effective or whatever as giving Adderall out or whatever else. Wasn't there the biohazard sign? Right, which one are you looking at? That one or the GP5? I mean, that's not a biohazard sign there, if that's what you mean. The biohazard sign is like the weird kind of triangular thing. With like, you know, like the spiky, thorny triangular thing that you'd see on the clinical waste bins. But it's a GP7 up there and a GP5 there. Generally, yes, because normally I'll sometimes have streams of like 30 to 70 people, I'd say is a rough average. But the annoying thing is with streaming as well, like a lot of things on YouTube, if it doesn't send out a notification when it's meant to, you never get people coming on. Because unless they know I'm streaming at this time, they won't get, you know, notifications they won't realise. So yeah, Flame Master, that's why, because on some streams I can get quite a few people on, but you know, and it's hard to keep up with the comments. But I just explained, Jane, it's literally YouTube has not sent out a notification for most people watching, apparently. I imagine most of the people watching are the people who saw my community post earlier. What, the GP7? From the front it doesn't. The Pyro's mask and TF2 isn't actually a real mask, sadly. There's a couple of masks that look a bit similar to it, but like how the filter design's set up on it, I don't think any mask's ever been done like that. This isn't bullet resistant or anything, no Frosty. This is just like a riot helmet visor that you can mount onto the military helmets. The idea was that British troops that were doing peacekeeping operations or whatever had a way they could just take off and on riot visors quite easily for, you know, like crowd control stuff. But if it's obviously like the Russian titanium helmets you're thinking of, then they will have really bulky visors because they're designed to actually be, you know, give you ballistic protection. Whereas polycarbonate would protect you from, you know, like birdshot or something like that. But that's about as far as it would go in terms of ballistic protection, because polycarbonate is mostly designed from like blunt force trauma impacts and like stabbing weapons and things like that. So to give you some idea, if I get my tactical pen, that might put little dents in it, but it's not going to do too much damage, whereas that would have broken glass. But polycarbonate's generally pretty good for riot visors, because you can see probably of all the scratches on it that it's obviously had stuff hitting it in the past. But skull sign. Oh, what, you're looking at the one? There's a katana there. If you're looking at the katana, that's a Sohei or whatever they're called, katana. Then left of that is the, what's the name of the company? Is it Hanwei, the sword company? I think it's Paul Chen's bloke's name, but it's when they did a series of like European swords rather than a lot of the Chinese and Asian swords. It's the arming sword from that. It's like short and long sword, but similar blade profile. In reality, I'd probably prefer a long sword because I prefer a sword that you can grip two-handed if you want to. This French C38 is in a metal tin and it's in this room in the corner. But I can't wear it with this helmet on. The remake, yes, not in the original. In the original, it's an Acme Clear Vision or Full Vision or something like that it's called. I mean, generally, if I've got a mask and it comes in a satchel or a tin or whatever, I always just store that mask in the tin. Because, you know, it's only when I get masks that don't have anywhere of storing them that I'll put them on display or have to buy another bag for them. Yeah, I hope so too, Rich. Hopefully, yeah, that medication they've sorted you out with works well. Because sometimes with a lot of things, it can be a lot of back and forth, can't it, of going back, seeing if it does any good, if it doesn't, you know, coming back again. At some point, I'm going to need to sort this strap out because this is annoying me. It's the same problem that I had with that other thing the other day. I'm not sure if it's like a brand name, then plexiglass might be a type of polycarbonate, but it's just a very strong plastic. Let me look up plexiglass and we'll see if I can see. Plexiglass is a brand name of polycarbonate. Well, no, actually, no, polymethacrylate. So that is a slightly different thing from polycarbonate. Let me just search poly versus polycarbonate and see if there's like an article on. So it's actually acrylic then, plexiglass. I definitely know it under the name acrylic. All right, I'm just reading an article now, so I'll tell you if there's any interesting differences. Right, acrylic. First, like polycarbonate, acrylic has very high transmissivity. It allows for the passage of light. Second, acrylic is extremely scratch resistant because of these two qualities, acrylic is frequently the plastic of choice for optical devices. Another characteristic makes acrylic a great choice for optical devices. It's relative to glass. Acrylic is much less damaging to the skin or eye tissue when it's fractured. But does it have any strengths? Right, so basically polycarbonate's a lot stronger than acrylic, but it scratches easier. So that's why you always notice the scuffs on riot gear. So yeah, there's your answer. They're not too dissimilar, but polycarbonate is much stronger than acrylic. Depending where you've ordered it from, you can ask for a refund and just cancel it. Because again, it depends. With some, again, I don't know where you're ordering from and all this, but on some sites, they estimate a postage cost expecting you to be quite close by. So if you order it from further away, I think the seller is perfectly entitled to say, right, I can either give you a refund or I'm going to have to charge you more for postage. If that's what I'm sort of thinking of anyway. Because I know when my dad sold stuff on eBay before, although he says UK only, sometimes we'll get people in another country order it. And he says, right, I'll either give you a refund or you can, increase your pay a bit more for postage. But that's the problem, I suppose, if it's meant to be like a UK only seller and somebody in America bought it or vice versa or whatever. There's no way, Quentin, unless you, as I've said before, have just this bit of the glasses that you mount in the mask without the arms on it, or the temples, whatever they call them, the side bit of the glasses, or a mask that seals at the neck. Because if the mask seals at your head, the glasses will always break the peripheral seal because they stick out the side where the masks always seal around there. The one in Fallout 4 is the Italian T35. If you look the Italian T35 gas mask up, that's the Fallout 4 mask. The thing is, I don't know too much about SpaceX versus NASA. I know SpaceX is the Elon Musk thing, isn't it? And it's like a private company, whereas NASA's like the government-funded thing, taxpayer-funded thing in, obviously, America. I mean, NASA obviously historically has done some really good things, but the problem is NASA's budget got cut massively, partway through the Cold War, basically after the moon landing. So they've not really done much cool stuff other than space station stuff. But yeah, Richard, saying that, I kind of remember that video. And yeah, I think that's where polycarbonate is a lot stronger than acrylic. Although, again, polycarbonate can still be pierced by a crossbow bolt or whatever if it's traveling fast enough with the right head on it. Acrylic is definitely weaker, apparently, especially shattering as well. There should be a way of sorting it out through eBay, Gabby. I'm afraid I can't really tell you more than that. You'd have to sort it out yourself. But again, you can either ask for a total refund and they can cancel sending you the item, or the seller will have to sort you out the payment link. Yeah, polycarbonate's like the riot shield material they use on riot visors and riot shields, and like roofing and certain windows and stuff as well. But yeah, so the disadvantage to polycarbonate is it scratches easily. But I'd rather have something protecting my face that scratches and doesn't break than something that looks nice and pristine and then all of a sudden shatters and you get your face sliced open. All right, Ethel Phantom. I don't know who you're talking to when you say Control, but have you ever played Riot Control? I've not heard of that, if that's a game. With some masks, there's a way with the nose section of the mask that they actually have a glasses mount, but that's quite specific to certain military masks. Because let me see if I can find you a picture of what I mean. All right, okay, if you go on Google Images and type in You can actually get the frames. That's interesting. Let me just link you to this picture. I don't know if this site's any good or not, but I'm just sort of, I found this, but this is what I mean. The official things for masks are like that. They basically attach inside the mask. You have your prescriptions put into them. And then obviously you've got essentially glasses mounted inside the mask. But I think it would be completely feasible on a lot of glasses, if you had an old pair you didn't want anymore, to take the arms off and then somehow mount the glasses that way. But you'd obviously have to get ones that line up well enough with the stuff. Personally, my favourite gas mask is the Avon CT12 because I think it looks cool, it's comfortable. It's a very good mask in terms of protection rating. Vietnam didn't make their own gas masks. I've got a load of Chinese masks from the Cold War. Well, not a load, a couple. And Communist Vietnam used a load of those. I don't even know, Mike, what you're on about with that. I don't think I've seen that film. I've got an RPK that's down there. Well, you probably can't see the barrel, but there's a PPSH there, and the RPK is near the PPSH, but not a Kalashnikov. Well, RPK is not a Kalashnikov, not an AK-47. Nearly all my gas masks I get off eBay because it's literally the cheapest place you'll find most masks, other than buying direct from Chinese companies that like sell them in China and stuff like that. For the most part, eBay's the best. That wouldn't surprise me, Richard, because, yeah, I definitely know that some polycarbonate stuff does break. My riot shield's got a crack in it, though, and a chunk fell off. I was going to, at some point, do some tests where I shot the broken piece of polycarbonate from my riot shield or crossbows and that to test it. But, yeah, the reason is that polycarbonate eventually kind of gets fractures in it and breaks. It's never an immediate thing, but it's like, you know, one of those things where if you have a mug and you wash it a load of times or whatever, you can suddenly just get it to shatter, even when they're quite durable or whatever to begin with. It's a bit like that, I think, with polycarbonate, where let's say this got hit loads of times and you got some very tiny splits in bits there. You might get one impact that just takes a chunk off because it, for whatever reason, I guess it's weakened a lot of the other bits. I think that's why with a lot of riot gear for official police use, they have to stop using it if they even get like a really small crack in it, which is good if you're buying it as surplus. But for actual police use, you know, they don't want to be held liable if there's a small little crack in it, and then that leads to an officer getting injured or killed, because there'd be loads of lawsuits. Yeah, thank you, Sebastian. Don't forget to like the stream, everybody. It helps it get shared, and YouTube decided not to share this one. Yeah, we don't talk about politics on here, Benzi, but yes, I have seen that Turkey is invading Syria to kill the Kurds, which is obviously pretty fucking scummy, but it's not really a surprise, is it? Oh, that's cool, Stug. But yeah, so that'd be my theory, Richard, is just as much as some polycarbonate is probably built better than other polycarbonate, and I think the angle of the polycarbonate helps as well. When it's rounded more, I think it, you know, less force is transferred into it than a flat panel, which I think is why a lot of riot shields have a bit of a curve to them. But I think it's one of those things that once cracks start developing in it, probably a chunk will just fall off at once. Apparently, random sod, they've said that on some of the UK DAC sites, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we? What kind of guns? Well, no functioning firearms, if you mean that. I've got 2 air rifles. I've got some airsoft guns. I've got crossbows and that. Obviously, they're not guns, but I just thought I'd include that. But yeah, with the deactivated guns, as I said earlier, the SLR, the Enfield, the M1 carbine, the PPSH, and the RPK. No, I've definitely not seen that then, Mike. Well, you do know, DeSantos, that if people went on eBay, they could get them for £7. So you might want to lower your prices. Because I don't even know who you are, but you're obviously advertising on here, aren't you? It has to rhyme, though. So what would it be? Let's have a think. Don't be a target, bin that helmet. It still doesn't really work, but they say stuff like that because they've said a few things which I really doubt, where wearing some kinds of things or carrying certain knives makes you more likely to get stabbed. Well, if you're in gang violence and you obviously engage in it, then yeah, you are more likely to get stabbed. But if you're a random person and you've got like a knife in your pocket, it's not going to make people home in on you and stab you. So where you were saying to Santos you had these for sale, do you have the visor mounts for them as well? Because if you sold them both together for 15, that would be quite a good deal. But I've seen like obviously the visors for like £7-8 on eBay. No, knives aren't banned in the UK. That's complete bullshit. There's lots of restrictions they put on scary knives and all that, but in terms of you can buy pretty much any knife you want to buy. Favorite gas mask of the Cold War? Well, it depends whenabouts in the Cold War, because the S10's technically from the Cold War, so I'd just say that. But the Soviet masks, the Shums, if I had to pick like an earlier Cold War mask, then the S6. It's commonly known as banana oil, but its actual name is isomyl acetate. And they use it in gas mask testing kits because it has a really, really strong smell. It's not an unpleasant smell. It's like a very sweet smell. It's kind of like an artificial sweetener kind of thing. I don't know if you'd actually be able to drink it or eat it, although the stuff I bought is apparently food grade. So you might be able to, but the point is that because it's very, very strong, you know, it's if they're using it in a scent or something, they would put a very small amount in. So if you have a bottle of it, you know, and then you waft it in front of somebody, you can smell it really easily. Did you not get a notification, Alex? Because apparently lots of people didn't get notifications. Yeah, I saw that, Benzie. Either the people who made the game didn't know that the EO14 isn't a canteen but a filter, or they're meant to be converted filters into canteens. Yeah, that would work, random sod. Don't overwhelm it, destroy that helmet. But a lot of their things are really stupid, isn't it? Like get a life, bin that knife, and all that sort of shit. Well, wouldn't that depend what vape stuff it is, Iron Man? You can't vape oil either. That's why the people in America died, because they had stuff that had oil in it, not you know, like actual nicotine. It wasn't the nicotine that was the problem, was it? Because it was THC stuff, but it was the fact it wasn't like propylene glycerate, or whatever it's called, in vegetable glycerate. It was oil, and when oil gets in your lungs, banana oil. Yes, let me show you. I've got mine in a thing. So, as you can see, it says banana oil on the label. I put a sticky label on the back where I put isomyl acetate on it. So that's how it's spelled if you want to see the actual official name of it. But basically, it's just a really strong smell. So, the smell reminds me a bit of certain kinds of paint strippers or like varnish removers. It's like a very sweet kind of chemical smell. I almost want to say high pitch, but obviously it's not a sound. But you know, if you have sounds, you have a low pitch sound and a high pitch sound. Imagine that, but with a smell. If that would make sense. I don't know if that's just one of those weird things, but no, if you vaped oil, Iron Man, you will die, because once oil get in the lungs, it won't come out. They use. I'll show you a bottle. So I've nearly finished this one. I need to top my vape up, but it would say on there 50. This says VG 50%, PG 50%. Pretty much all vape liquids are either VG or PG, and a combination of both, and that's a glycerin kind of thing. It's what they put in smoke machines. If it wants to focus, maybe. I don't think it's going to focus. But yeah, it's... Oh, there was a bloke advertising visors on here earlier, but if you want to get one for about £7, they are on eBay. Just type in Mark 6 visor. I mean, it might be artificial banana smell, Mike, but to me, it's just a very generic, sweet kind of tang. Oh, so what you're saying is that you're in an area where the water's unsafe to drink at the moment, but luckily you've got the tablets. That's good. But yeah, as I was showing earlier in the stream, what I did is with my regular Mark 6 helmet, I took the visor mounts off this one because with the Mark 6s, if you've got the standard one, they don't have the visor mounts on by default. So, but luckily the Mark 6 I bought years ago had the visor mounts on both sides. So I took them off the Mark 6, took the covers off of this one, installed the screws back into the Mark 6 from this one, and then put the helmet mount and the visor on this one. GP5, it's the world's most common gas mask. Don't use the filter, but it's perfectly fine as an actual mask. The problem is with a lot of gas mask stuff. I mean, there are books. Don't get me wrong, there are books. Let me get one. Let me just... I don't want to knock anything over. So a book like this is a good one. And this is like well-researched, good information. I'll just hold that up so you can read what the title is. So books like that are probably the best place you will ever find information on gas masks. The issue with lots of the information online, some of the sources where that information have come from aren't always all that good. So a lot of the time, and I've done this before, there might be wrong information about something online, and who knows where that information first came from, but then people always repeat it because they've read it somewhere online. So with websites, I mean, there's the gas mask and respirator wiki, or wiki, whatever you want to call it. And that's one which, again, a lot of the information on there is good, but the problem is with lots of these sites, there's never sources. And often it's down to opinions. So, you know, if I was writing it in the style of one of these, I would say the CT12 is the best gas mask ever. Why would you want a different mask? You know, it's written a bit more formally than that, but the problem is people's biases show through quite a lot. Well, if you mean money, I'm afraid I can't tell you because I have no idea anyway. But with gas masks, I've probably got about 140 gas masks. I've got about a dozen helmets, 5 deactivated guns, a few swords, maces, Geiger counters, whatever. So a lot of stuff. But yeah, the masks are the ones I have loads and loads of. But as I've said before, the main reason for that is because gas masks are really cheap on the surplus market. Sometimes you can get helmets at a good price as well, but often gas masks are the thing that, because a lot of people don't have an interest in them, they just get sold on quite cheaply. So there's lots of different designs and stuff. The thing is, the good thing of masks is if you actually wanted one for protection, you wouldn't have to spend much at all to get a really good mask. It's only like, as I'm a collector, that I end up, you know, getting loads and loads and loads of different ones just because I want to compare them and evaluate, you know, designs throughout history and things like that. But if you just literally like, I want a respirator for my own protection, you could probably get a really good one for the £30 to £40 mark and then spend an extra, you know, like 30 quid on a few filters. Yep, right, I've got 2 GP5s, so that mask there. I've got 2 GP5Ms, but one of my GP5Ms is grey, and there's that black one there. I've got 3 MM1s, so that mask there, although 2 of them are MM1As, and the other one's an MM1B. I have got 2 S10s, and I've got 2 C7s, and the C7's the rarest mask I own. Oh, I've got 2 British Mark V GSRs from World War II as well. Oh, what, Richard, where people say this wood can't be used, or a wood that wouldn't make a good properties for a bow can't be used, or whatever. Yeah, somebody asked earlier what the gas mask was in Fallout 4. And I said the Italian T35. If you look that up, you'll see I'm right. Although it looks, it's a very similar design as well to like the French C38, the French M51. What about the Scott GSR? I'm not a fan of it. Do you know what the sound sounds like? If the pressure check works, you like suck a load of air in and you hear a sound, that could just be the voice diaphragm rattling or something. Because on some masks, if you pressurize it too hard, the voice diaphragm just kind of clicks in and out, like not like it's breaking the seal, but just because it's moving with the air pressure. With sometimes if you do it, you'll hear your ears pop because you're building up loads of pressure inside the mask. So yeah, your ears pop. I mean, it could be a defect, but I don't think it probably is. I think it's more just if you're pressure checking it too hard, something in the mask probably moves slightly and then resets. So here's the question I've already been asked several times this stream. What's my favorite gas mask? It's still the Avon CT12. Most scariest gas mask. Well, when I did the top 10 scary gas masks, I reckon the American Mickey Mouse mask. But I think out of all of the masks, saying that in hindsight, maybe either the German World War II optical mask or some of the American optical masks. In general, I think optical masks look the scariest. They're the ones that are designed for looking through binoculars or scopes. So they have the completely front-facing eyepieces. With some masks, Quentin, if you breathe in too hard doing a pressure check, what will happen is maybe the exhale valve, for example, will go the wrong way and it will let air in that way. I mean, if it's not tight enough to your face, you'll constantly hear air coming in because it will be coming through a gap. Yeah, I definitely believe that, Iron Man. Because, yeah, that's true. If you don't have it and you're gassed, that would be scary, wouldn't it? I was kind of thinking it was a joke, Adrian, but yeah, what I'm saying now, rather than getting annoyed when people say it, is just it's the same one as I said every other time. But saying that, the Spaziani is pretty up there in terms of replacing the CT12 as my favourite mask. It's not quite there, but saying that, if Avon had done a really good panoramic mask you could have shot with that was a similar facial design to the CT12, that'd probably be my favourite. No, I like the shims as well. It's a good mask, and it can be used as scopes. Don't be a dissident. Bin that helmet citizen. Yeah, you could kind of do something like that. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? The word helmet doesn't seem to rhyme with a lot of stuff. Don't you mean the Avon M50, Adrian? That's a much better mask than the GSR. The GSR is like the inferior copy of the M50. Because, yeah, Quentin, what it could just be is with some masks, I know this from some ones I have, if you pressure check them too hard, a valve will just go backwards. Because in the normal negative pressure, sort of breathing in, breathing out with the mask sealed to your face, the valves don't have to work that hard. But it could be possible that if you do a negative pressure check that gets too strong, just one of the valves will fail because of that. The SLR is my favourite deactivated gun I have. It's not one of the most ones you can still do the most with, like the M1 carbine, where you can strip it and well, strip parts of it at least, because some of it's welded together, and move the charging handle and take the mag out and all that. But so actually no, I was saying that the Enfield will be the most functional of all of them, because that one is one where you can actually properly do all the bolt mechanism. But in terms of my favourite, probably the L1A1 SLR, then probably the M1 carbine. Then, I don't know, the Lee Enfield I like, but I kind of like some of the more unusual looking guns more than that. So I'd say probably the PPSH. Weirdly, my AK is probably my least favourite deactivated gun. Not for any particular reason, but just because so much is welded on it, I suppose, that you can't really do much with it. And AKs are really common, aren't they? So, but yeah, it's just because I like the history of like the FAL and the SLR that I find it interesting. What's on the poster? What, that big one there? That is a Russian or Soviet civil defense poster explaining how to wear masks to protect you from like fallout. So that's why there's all the dust masks at the bottom. And then there's where's the PTM one on there? Oh, it's that one, isn't it? There on my fingers. Because that PTM one's up there. But yeah, it's explaining how to put on the mask, how to know what your size is for the mask. you know, and all that. I've not done a cleaning video on a panoramic mask, but you still clean them the same way as any other, as in like wipe them down with soapy water kind of stuff. But the problem is Iron Man over here at one point, they either deacked the guns or they threw them in like a crusher. So I'd rather them be deacked than that, because at least you can then have them as like a souvenir. But really, they should have just sold them to America, I think. Well, stink bombs would be a smell, wouldn't they? So you'd need a mask for that. I don't regret buying any of the DX, but I certainly regret not buying the Set Meow when D&B Militaria had it in like the £200, £300 price range a while ago. Because, as I said, somebody the other day linked to that other site where they did actually have that DX gun in. But it has to be to EU specs now, which means it's barely anything moves on it. And it's now like 450 quid. So I can't really be asked for that money. Because I bought some more night vision things off eBay today. And it's, when you think about it, like £500 for a DX gun is a lot of money for something that you can't shoot or do anything with, really, other than doing videos on it or having it as decoration. Because as I've said before now, if I'm going to spend that sort of money, I'd probably just want to buy a really nice air rifle, because I can actually shoot it, or, you know, like a really nice air pistol. Yep, and they built loads and loads of fouls as well, Iron Man. Yeah, exactly, Mike. See, that's my logic, is I'd rather the guns weren't tampered with and destroyed in any way. But if they were going to destroy the gun, it's much better it's deac than just being completely thrown in a fucking crusher. Like, that thing still annoys me when I saw the thing on the news a while ago where there was the police on about their weapons ban, you know, all these illegal weapons they got. And there was only a couple that were actually proper legal firearms. Lots of it was like crossbows and, you know, all that sort of stuff. And replica guns. But there was like the policeman in one bit, he was standing by a table and he goes like, oh, this is a very rare, valuable antique shotgun. Then they just show them all going into this crusher and being run over by like a forklift. I haven't played Metro in ages, but there's a lot of different generations of Soviet night visions. If you just Google Soviet night vision, you should find a page where it has like pictures and the names of like the most common ones. So it's probably one of those. Although a lot of the stuff in Metro is technically, it can be post-Soviet, can't it? Because I think the war in Metro, the nuclear war, didn't happen until like 2006 or something, did it? I can't remember the date now. But it's technically Russian Federation when it got nuked, not Soviet Union. Cheapest mask, either the GP5, maybe the Polish MC. It's going to depend where you are in the world. But in the UK, often GP5 and Polish MC1 you can get for under £10 if you're just buying the mask on its own. No, I've never read any of the Metro books. No, well, if you want to clean the outside bits or the inside bits, no. It would only be if you wanted to clean like the voice diaphragm or whatever, you'd need to dismantle it. With literally the majority of masks, all you need to do is get a bit like baby wipes or whatever. If you want to do it that way, it's an easy way. And just wipe them all over the material. That way you're going to take any dirt off and like germs that are on there. Yeah, cleaning masks isn't hard. If you were on about proper decontamination of a mask that's been in gas, that would be different. But if you're just on about the literal, you know, how do I clean a mask that I just don't want to get germs off of if somebody has worn it before me, that is literally it. Just wipe it with baby wipes or any sort of disinfectant wipes. Or, as I've said before in videos, dunk them in the sink with a bit of soapy washing up liquid in there, because a lot of those have got disinfectants in. It's only really, you have to be careful if you get masks that are quite old vintage ones, because then it'd be very easy to damage the masks. But most modern masks are obviously designed to be really durable, so you're not going to damage them accidentally by getting them wet. Obviously, don't dunk the filter underwater. Completely depends on the mask, Origami. Some masks are comfortable, some are, you know, bearable, some are very uncomfortable. If you look after the snake properly and you get on with it, no problem with having them as a pet. You know, that's what I think about most animals. As long as you look after the animal properly, you know, there's no issue with people having it as a pet. What, like a kind of glue that comes out and then seals? It sounds like a good idea, Iron Man, but I don't know how practical it would be. Out of all the masks I've got, the most comfortable one is my Forshida F2A4, and that's just because it's a really nice feeling rubber and it's really nice straps. But for a lot of people, it will depend on their face shape as well, because you know, some people find certain masks fit the shape of their skull essentially better than others do, and in different sizes. So if you get a mask that fits really snugly to your face without having to do the straps up too tight, then you will certainly find that mask more comfortable than other masks. No, the seller's lying. I've been blocking a few people recently, Alex, because I've had loads of idiots coming on videos saying, don't lie about GP5 filters containing asbestos. They only contain activated charcoal after 1972, whatever fucking date they say. But, you know, if you literally can't look at all the evidence that's out there that GP5 filters contain asbestos, and you believe the people that are selling you these filters, not the, you know, actual labs, like the proper labs people have sent the filters off to be tested. And, you know, like, although my video on it's not very good, those people have done better videos, you know, where they cut the filter open, get an electric microscope, look at what's in the filter of an electric microscope. They try burning the filter medium to see if it burns well, you know, and then they can see, you know, because like cotton burns a lot more than asbestos and all that sort of stuff. Oh, look, you know, what do you know? There's asbestos in it. What do you mean by most hotter mask? I don't quite get that. The thing is, if you're buying a GP5 and you just want to buy one, you know, as long as you're sensible with it and don't keep breathing through the green filter, it doesn't really matter what the seller said. The issue I have with a lot of these sellers is they will convince people that it's completely safe when it's not, obviously to breathe through it. And also people start parroting that. They'll say, because somebody is selling this mask and they say it's safe, it's safe. You know, by this logic, every company could say the product we sell, you know, will make your dick grow 10 times bigger and all this sort of stuff. And it'd be true, wouldn't it? Because they say so. That's why there's laws against false advertising. But sadly, a lot of that's not caught up with online stuff. Yeah, I suppose that would be, Mike. But I'm not personally into the fetish stuff of gas masks. You know, if people are, fair to play to them, but don't ruin valuable old masks by doing it. You have to look it up, Iron Man. I can't remember. It's something to do with heat treatment, I think. It's certain kinds of charcoals that are then heat treated in a certain way. I think that makes them really porous. So if I'm wearing a mask, how hot does it get? Well, the longer it's on, the hotter it gets. It will also depend on like how big the exhale valve is and like how much, you know, heat you give off and all that. But after a while, they will get uncomfortably warm. It means they're very nice in the winter at keeping your head warm, but in the summer, they're pretty unbearable. Same with NBC suits. Oh yeah, Mike, that'd be the same for me. But you know, it's a bit strange, isn't it, to think with some people that they'd be going, "Oh, look at that mask." Stop. Why should I stop? What was my favorite NBC suit? Out of all the ones I've got, in terms of like the most comfortable one to wear, my Polish Fu 1 NBC suit. Although if I had to pick an old cheaper one, the Polish L1 NBC suit. Right, so this is a Mark 6A Bing, so it's the same exact helmet as the British Mark 6A. So basically, it's a Kevlar version of the Mark 6. So if we look at both our helmets, this is the Mark 6. They use ballistic nylon filler in it, so the Mark 6 barely offers any protection. I wouldn't recommend it. It's all right for a hard hat if you wanted it for that, but no other use. But I took the visor mounts I had off of this one and put them on the Mark 6A. So then I've got the Kevlar Mark 6A, which would probably be about Kevlar 2 or Kevlar 3A. From what I understand, these stop pistol rounds pretty much fine, and that would be it, same as a lot of other Kevlar helmets. But obviously it's now got a right visor mounted on the front, so that won't stop bullets, but it would stop low-velocity shrapnel and sticks and bricks and, you know, stuff like that hitting you. So, yeah, it just has a mounting system that goes on you know, like that, and then you can put it up and down. The only thing is it doesn't slide as well when it's on the Kevlar helmet, because the Kevlar has that like kind of sandy feel to it. It doesn't move as well on this as it does on the regular Mark 6. But, you know, I wish they'd do that with more helmets, to be honest, put like a visor mount on it, because it seems such a good addition to just be able to take off and on a visor. Yeah, I'll definitely do a video testing this with different masks. I'm quite interested in seeing, will it work? I think this will actually work better than a lot of the Riot helmets at fitting of certain masks, because the actual visor on this obviously is a sort of different shape and has more room there. So I think you would be able to fit a mask and a filter behind it, especially a side loading filter. For a lot of Riot masks, obviously completely enclose your face like that. So the issue is lots of masks can't be worn under them. Oh, what should you recommend from? Yeah, it's right hype, isn't it? It's just a lot of fun to mess around with a FLIR, and you also find it's interesting if you get different weather, like snow, rain, all that sort of stuff, seeing how it messes with the camera. Like rain adds a lot of like noise, like interference, because you've constantly got things of different temperature moving in front of the sensor. But to go back to what you were saying, Alex, sorry, so I don't miss your comment. What would I recommend for buying, let's say, less than $30? What country are you in, Alex? Because that will affect what's on your surplus market. But maybe an MM1 if you can find one for under $30. What do you mean, the Spartan helmet? Lonely Darkness. That's an M10, I think, on that, but it wouldn't actually work because it's like the M10 is the visor. Oh, I'm asked. The Spaziani, if they're still at the same price as when I got mine and got yours, Mike, they'll be in the £30 to £40 region. But it seems like it's one of those things that now and again there'll be a bit more supply and the prices go down and then they go up. Although I think, though, if you want to get one, you should probably get one of those sooner rather than later, because it wasn't a military mask, it was an industrial mask. It's probably going to be one of those cases of when the sales dry up for it, you're not going to find it again, or at least not very easily. Because what you'll get, obviously, is with some military surplus masks, when an army stops using that particular mask, you get loads turn up on the surplus market, so there's a really big supply of them. With some industrial masks, they don't tend to turn up on the surplus market, except for now and again when they might bulk sell some on. Well, I like British MTP, but US multicam's fine. I don't think with most, like, you know, multi-patterns, there's too much variation in all of them, because they're nearly always the same color palette and they're just a slightly different camo pattern. So I'd have to see tests with like loads of different multicam ones being used in the same environments to judge that. But when I've seen ones with MTP and multicam compared, the MTP looks better in some photos, the multicam looks better in others. Again, it just depends on the color palette and the lighting and everything else. Because of you. Yeah, that's the thing people say to me a lot, Peach, that I can't ever say I like or dislike a mask because it will affect the price, and that's not fair. No, it's not a swap mask if you're on about this. It's a British Mark 6A helmet where I've installed the visor mount and put the visor on it, so it can be used as a riot helmet. Because the idea was that soldiers who might have to do peacekeeping operations would need a riot visor. So rather than having them with the normal helmets on and then having to issue them riot helmets if they were going into a situation where there's riot, the idea is that you just have a visor that can be removed and put back on with a key system. Yeah, but don't you get more from the thing that way, Mike? Because if people buy stuff using your affiliate links, don't you get more money if the prices have gone up? The cover on that, yes, you could, but you might have to cut a hole there, because how it would work, I don't think I've got the cover in this room, it's in the other room. But what you'd do is you would take the visor off. So hang on. show you. You take the visor off, if it wants to come off now. There we go, that's that one fully done. Right, you take the visor off, you'd put the helmet cover on, and then what I think you'd have to do is just cut a hole around this bit. Then you could just put the visor on through the helmet cover, because that's the only bit that needs to really move, is the like rotating bit the visor sits on. Well, they originally did it being for the Mark 6, the one with ballistic nylon. The thing is, though, you're never going to have 100% done thing, because riot helmets are made very differently than military helmets in terms of like how the impact foam works and all that. So it's always going to be a trade-off, because you either have a helmet that gives better ballistic protection that you're just adding a riot visor to, or a helmet designed for blunt force impacts, which isn't designed to stop any kind of bullets or anything like that. So, but I think this is good enough for what it is. The point is, with this on, if somebody threw a brick at you or something like that, it is going to stop your skull being caved in by a brick. And it's still obviously going to stop shrapnel and all the other stuff the regular helmets would have done. That would depend on the laws in your country, Sarah. I wouldn't recommend it, just simply because if you fell off a motorbike at speed and smacked your head, it's not got the same kind of impact foam in it like motorcycle and riot helmets have. So what could end up happening is you could still do a lot of concussive damage, I imagine, to the skull, because these sort of helmets are designed to be, you know, like comfortable for wearing for long periods, not really to be all that impact resistant. There's some quite good videos. I'm trying to think of channels that have done them, because I've not done videos on this, but where they explain, you know, like the different kind of helmet liners and what they're designed to do and not do. So they, you know, explain like which helmets, and it's not just modern military helmets, but, you know, they go on about construction helmets, medieval helmets, like modern military helmets and all that. And they'll show you like what they were designed for and like things they can and can't do. But the problem is lots of people think with certain helmets that, you know, oh, because it's a helmet, it will prevent your head from shock. And yet it's better than nothing. I think any helmet, even, you know, like a plastic hard hat, is better than nothing for preventing damage to the head. But if it doesn't have the right kind of liner system in it, you know, it means that a lot more force is potentially going to transfer into your skull. Because a lot of medieval helmets, where, you know, they thought people might be hitting them in the head with a mace or a warhammer or a sword or whatever, had like kind of a harness that sat very loosely on the head inside the metal frame. So the idea is that when the helmet gets hit, the helmet itself actually moves like that rather than your head moving with it, so it doesn't damage the neck or your head. Gas mask I recommend for beginners, GP5 maybe, GP5M, GP7. Well, I don't really like the GP7, but Polish MC1, Czech CM3. You know, there's not really a right answer. It's just whatever's cheap. Get one, see if you like it. Well, that's completely down to opinion, and it depends on what you would consider the best gas mask, because depending on what you want it for, technically, if you wanted the best level of protection, you'd need a rebreather, or you would need a like firefighter's mask with an air supply. If you just simply wanted like a filtration gas mask kind of thing, like a respirator, air purifying respirator, completely down to which would fit you the best and is quite modern. So there's not really a right answer to that. Because an important factor a lot of people forget with gas masks and everything is that a lot of it will come down to long-term comfort. So I'm trying to think of a good way of explaining it, but let's say you had a couple of masks and they both provide very good NBC protection. A lot of what it will come down to for how good these masks are is how comfortable they are to be worn for a long time. Because if you have to be wearing these masks for whatever reason, you want something that's not going to start making your face ache, or you'll be tempted to loosen the straps too much or whatever, so you take it off. Ah, coif. Yeah, I know there was like archery helmets called coifs, but yeah, it wasn't a Lindy Page video I watched. It might have been a Scholar Gladiatoria one, but, you know, the point I was making, though, is that, you know, different helmets are designed to do different things. So if you get a military helmet and you improvise a visor system to go on it, although it will function a bit like a riot helmet, it's never going to be as good as a purpose-built riot helmet for riot control, because the liners in them are different and everything else. I'm glad you enjoyed the video, Xander. It's probably just because I've been doing gas mask videos for quite a while, Origami, and I do them quite regularly. And I think that's how the YouTube algorithm works for a lot of things. The person who's done the most videos over like longest span of time on a certain subject is probably the one they're going to share the most. Just because I suppose that makes sense, doesn't it, in the aspect of people wanting to find that sort of content. I thought a coif was like a leather thing that went on your head like that. Like a cowl kind of thing, but I don't know, but it's there's probably different terminology for the same thing. I'll be going off in a few minutes because I've been on for 1 hour and 6 minutes, and I've got a panto rehearsal at 8 p.m. and it's 7 past 7 at the moment. So in less than an hour, I need to go out. And then I'll be on Twitch to watch you later on, Mike. But yeah, I do quite like this Mark 6A with the visor. I would really like it, though, if more companies that made helmets did a system like this so you can really easily mount a visor that, you know, you could just take on or off that literally attaches to the side of the helmet. The seller didn't think there were, but the thing is, it's being sold by somebody who's just got it and they're selling it as second-hand. That's why they don't know too much about it. It's not a company selling it. So they're selling it second-hand just because, obviously, they've got this night vision. I guess they don't want it anymore. And, you know, they, like I said, they posted pictures of it and it lights up and all that. And whatever, if it's not sold as advertised, then I get a refund. But the thing is, for like 40 quid it costs for that night vision, £42. I'm not really all that fussed, as long as it works to a decent degree, you know. Because they did provide pictures. They said there was a bit of damage to the outside, and they provided a picture on one side where, like, one of the foam, like, you know, hand grips bit had fallen off. But you could obviously glue some more foam on there. But, you know, as far as I'm aware, there's no problems with it. But I won't know until it comes because, again, you know, like with anything you buy, you could buy a surplus gas mask and there could be a hole in the voice diaphragm. But, you know, it's that kind of thing. Again, it's not silly money. Because that's the thing, I wouldn't pay loads and loads of money for a second-hand night vision, just because, you know, you don't know, again, what's going to go wrong with it, like you said. But for something like that, you know, I'll just take the seller on their word that it's in good condition like they described and hope it is. And as I said, I've not paid too much for it. But yeah, most of the things, as I was just saying, they've described is more problems of the outside of it, not the actual optics of it. I think they said there's a couple of minor scratches on the glass, but that was like literally it. And that wouldn't bother me at all, because when you're looking through something like that, you're not really going to notice. It's like with your glasses, you never really notice if unless you get a really deep gouge in them, you're never going to notice it because it's so close to your eyes, you're not focusing on that. But I will be off in a minute, so everybody needs to stop asking questions. That's interesting. But yeah, I'll let you know when it arrives, because like I said, the seller didn't know if it was Gen 1 or whatever. So like I said, I've not spent much on it, and I just hope it's something quite cool for the money. So yeah, we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, hopefully it'll be all right. And hopefully, as I said, by Wednesday, either the night vision I've ordered from Russia will turn up, or I'll get an email with an update on that. And if I don't, then I'll email the company and find out what's going on. Because it's been like 2 or 3 weeks now since I've ordered that, and I've not heard anything back from them. What are you on about? Soviet GP5, Amazon or eBay? They're literally everywhere. Right, I'll be off now. And to answer your questions, yellow, blue, just before I go, anti-thermal suits. I think things like that have been developed, but they've never been completely successful. The issue I think they've had is some suits that will block the thermal signature are very obvious to the human eye. There are some that are, you know, can block thermal stuff, but the people get very hot underneath. Because the issue is that the more layers you put on, the harder you'll be able to see with a FLIR camera. The issue is you're going to overheat under all those layers. your best way of hiding from a flare is to hide next to something that's a similar heat source to your body, because then you're not going to stand out on the camera. You're going to be a very similar color to all the surroundings. So, like, a person or an animal outside on a cold day is easy to see. A person or animal outside on a hot day, especially if the ambient air temperature or ground temperature is very similar to their body heat, is very hard to see. Right, so yeah, see you everybody, and I'll be off. Bye.